Okay, good evening to everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Westfield Flood Control Commission on Wednesday, January 26th, Tuesday, January 26th, 2021 at 6:03 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. Due to city policy, the Zoom information can no longer be posted here on the agenda. So the meeting can be viewed on the Municipal Community Channel 12 this evening, or well, yeah, I'm not going to try to read that off. But anyway, Channel 12 this evening. Thank you, Peter. All right, and we have, I'll do a roll call in a minute. Looks like we have everyone. Call to order. Item 2, roll call. Barry Plumley. Barry, you have to unmute your microphone on your computer. It should be at the bottom left of the gray screen. The gray Zoom screen. Okay. Jack Leary.
Present.
Mark Goodness. Oh, I guess we don't have Mark. Mark Crissati, city engineer. I see he's there.
Did you get that?
Nope, I hear you now.
I said I'm here.
Okay.
Here.
Perfect, thank you. And Casey Berube, DPW.
Present.
Okay, Casey, good evening. And let's see, Barry Plumley. We're still trying to get Barry in. Not sure what's going on. And it looks like I lost another one of my... No, we have Jack. Barry, yeah. Barry, I can't hear you, but your microphone is muted, so we cannot hear you. If you're on telephone, Peter, it's 6, correct? To unmute?
*6.
*6. If you're on... Okay, yeah, good point. I've got it minimized right now. Barry, to unmute your screen, if you're looking at the gray square, that Zoom, in the bottom left corner, if you move the mouse down there, you'll see a little microphone, and you can click on it to mute or unmute your microphone. All right, stand by, everyone. Just see if I can. Maybe they're having technical difficulties. I'll give them a call.
Good, you just got it unmuted. We still have no picture. No, so we don't need a picture.
Yeah, that's okay. We don't need it. We're good.
Forget the picture. No.
Yes, we can hear your wife on here, so.
Okay. I'm out of here. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Barry back on. Barry Plumley.
Yes. Yo.
Barry Plumley present. Okay. So we're missing Mark Goodness, and I'm not sure what the issue is. I know I talked to him earlier, and he said he was going to be on, and he did try to call me shortly before the meeting, so he might be having issues. Okay, so we'll move on to item 3, public report participation. I have received no emails regarding public report or participation. Has anyone else received any emails or communications from the general public?
No.
Okay, hearing none. I'll close public report participation and move on to item 4, report from city engineer Mark Crissati. Mark, you have the floor.
Only what's on the agenda this evening.
Okay. Mark, if I can inquire, with the tie and bond, what we approved last meeting for tie and bond to pursue the R&D for the drainage conduits. Is that progressing?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Mark Cressati that's not currently on the agenda?
No, I have stuff put on the agenda.
Okay. Barry, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on to item 5, report from the Department of Public Works. Casey Berube. Casey, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Nothing to report at this point.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Casey?
No.
No. No.
Okay. Hearing no questions, we'll move on to bills. And we have a few. Bear with me here while I move some stuff around because I think I just covered them up. We have one bill from tie and bond, and I literally just had it in my hand. There it is. It's underneath that. Okay. We have one bill from tie and bond for the phase 1 inspections at Powder Mill and Armbrook Dams in the amount of $2,600. It's dated 1/20/2021. Invoice number 0121911134. Project number 321822024 and reference number PO 2201962-00. Again, this is from Tie and Bond. It's for our Massachusetts Office of Dam Safety required phase 1 inspections for Armbrook and Powder Mill Brook dams. These are required every other year by the Commonwealth of Mass. The DCR, Office of Dam Safety, requires it, and they are ongoing. Mark, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Didn't we have something to do with that last meeting?
Yes, we did.
Didn't we approve money last meeting?
Yeah, I believe we approved some money toward the $6,500 amount. Mark, if you could clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a partial payment.
Right.
So we're not duplicating what we did last month. I know I moved for money going to them, but
right.
I thought it had something to do with the dams, but this is in addition to that. Is that right? Hello?
So the total amount you did was, I believe, can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Mark.
Yes.
Okay, so the total amount that was encumbered was, I believe, the $6,500. This is a partial payment towards that effort.
Correct. That's my understanding as well.
Okay, so this is a second payment then,
Yeah.
which
That
makes
one
more partial.
last month, it was similarly. No, you're not double paying.
Right.
Correct.
Right. You're breaking up a little bit, Mark.
Yeah, I didn't quite follow the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, this is
Gotcha.
another partial.
I think Mark's microphone's breaking up or he's losing service. But essentially, this is a partial payment on top of what was previously paid. And according to what I have on the tie and bond bill here, it says less previous billings, $3,900. Amount due this invoice, $2,600. And I don't have my file handy with last month's bills, but I do have the power of technology and I can look it up.
Well, Mark said he understood it, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So therefore, if I make a motion for $2,600, I'm not duplicating anything. Am I correct there?
I believe so. According to what Mark said, I believe it is just additional to that. But let me confirm that real quick with what I sent to the engineering office from our last meeting. Batch number. Bear with me 1 second here. Batch number. just have to look through these to see which one is which. Time bond, where are you? There we go. Yes, so that amount is correct. So last meeting, just before New Year's, it was for $3,900 to tie and bond, which is what we approved, it does match with the number that is on this invoice. So we were previously billed
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve $2,600 to tie and bond relative to the inspections of the 2 dams. So moved.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Jack Leary, and seconded by Barry Plumley. Any discussion?
No,
Hearing
it's
none.
evident. We owe it.
Roll call. Jack Leary,
Yes.
Barry Plumley,
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. Approved to pay the bill for $2,600 to tie and bond for phase 1 inspections at Armbrook and Powder Mill Brook dams. Moving on to our other monthly bill, our $165 monthly bill from Westfield Gas and Electric.
100 what?
$165. It's pretty standard amount every month. So
Right, that's automatic. I understand that one. So
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve $165 to pay the monthly bill for electricity to Westfield Gas and Electric Company. So moved.
okay, we have a second.
Yes, I'll second that.
Second by Barry Plumley. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Obvious bill.
Correct. Hearing none. Roll call. Barry Plumley,
You. Yes.
Jack Leary,
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. We will pay the $165 monthly bill to Westfield Gas and Electric for invoice number 2174599. Okay, that covers the bills for the month, unless there's something else outstanding that I'm not aware of, Mark. Are you able to hear us and speak to us, Mark, or are you still having difficulties? No, I think Mark's audio is gone. He may hear us, but he might not be able to communicate with us. Okay. Let's see. Moving on. Old business. Powder Mill Brook and Armbrook Dam Rehabilitation Project update. Well, this is where we need Mark.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you now, Mark.
Okay.
I'm gonna try using my phone. There you
Okay.
go. There you go.
A little bit of an echo.
Uh-oh.
You got to turn one of them off.
I did that. How's that? How's that? I think that's okay now.
There we go.
Okay?
Yep, perfect. We can hear you, Mark. Go
Okay,
ahead. You have the
good.
floor.
All right, so what's the question?
We're on the Powder Mill Brook and Armbrook Dam Rehabilitation Project update, if there's anything to update us with.
No, the meetings they've had, they're holding pending responses from some federal agency. I can't remember. So they didn't have a meeting this week.
Right.
No,
Yeah,
last week.
I was going to say I just saw a notice from Peter about a meeting. Yeah, I have nothing new. Oh, go ahead.
Well, when do you think you'll be putting forward your the recommendation to the mayor to send to council? Council's been inquiring about it.
Yes, I'm aware of that. It's a matter of putting it all together and putting it before the commission. Peter, we can
Okay.
hear you. Peter, your mic's hot for the Westfield flood control meeting. Peter. There we go. Okay, so to respond to you again, Mark, yes, it is coming. It has to be put before the commission. As you know, my computer has been MIA for the last couple of months. I only just got the computer in last week, and I've been working feverishly to accomplish these things typed up in a nice, easy to read format. I'm going to schedule a special meeting in a couple weeks or a week, depending on what the availability is. And we should have this in very early February to present to the city council, pending no objections from the other commissioners.
That sounds good.
So, as you know, I don't have a physical staff to do any of my work, so I have to do everything myself. And unfortunately, I am limited by what computer technology is available. So typing on my phone or on my wife's laptop isn't exactly conducive to doing what I need to do. So now I have a computer that is more than capable of doing what I need, and I should be able to have that banged out by, like I said, sometime in the first week or maybe second week of February at the latest. Okay, so I have nothing new on Powder Mill or Arm Brook. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to ask or communicate regarding Arm Brook and Powder Mill Brook dams?
Not at this time for me.
Okay.
No.
No? Okay, perfect. All right. Well, with that, we will move on to item number 8, Little River Levee, to discuss drainage repair proposal and eminent domain issues. Okay, so where to begin? Mark, would you like to say anything before we get into this?
Only with relative to the eminent domain, I think we have a difference of direction here. I think you might want to schedule a meeting with the mayor for us to try to resolve.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. I know the other commissioners have their thoughts on this as well. I will start this out with what was presented by yourself. What was it, early last week or late the week prior to that? Was a sum of money to procure the lands needed for the levee. And the questions we've been asking for a while have been what that, and I asked the question, I won't put it on anyone else. I asked the question if it would be enough to purchase or acquire the entire footprint of Little River Levee. And correct me if I'm wrong, you had said that it was not in the city's interest to pursue that.
No, what I thought what you had asked was, did the amount of money purchase the levee and the 14 or 15 foot shoulder that Army Corps recommends? And my response was not in its entirety as far as that shoulder, that we did not look to take properties, that type of properties, that 15-foot zone from Sullivan Transportation, which currently actively uses that property.
Right. And my question was that it's the regulatory footprint of the levee, which it's a different way of saying the same thing, but that's the terminology that Army Corps uses. Understanding that the 15 foot of tow on the inboard side in a segment of the areas interested in being acquired, the 15-foot tow may or may not directly impact significantly that Sullivan Transportation Company yard. But having physically seen this area, it doesn't appear that it would create any significant impact to that area outside of perhaps moving a small section of fence inward toward their property to facilitate the acquisition of the entire levee without obstruction. And I think it's a matter of a few feet here and there, more so than, acreage It doesn't seem to be a significant difference between the two. And I think that's...
Yeah, I looked at that area too, and a good part of that, there is the 15 feet. Then it narrows down, but there still is some number of feet all the way down that levee. So it may not be 15, but it could be 5, it could be 10. And I hope we get the land that is at least minimally up to the fence, not just to the toe of the levee, but all the land that the fence is not on that would be within the 15 feet that is required or requested by the Army Corps of Engineers. So I hope we're not just stopping at the toe of the levee. I hope we got all the land at least up to the fence that is existing now, at least that. And a good part of that is only a couple feet that we're talking about. We're making a big mountain out of a molehill with this issue.
Well, Jeff, to my understanding, we are acquiring what real estate's required up to the fence. But if you look at Google Maps, at least when I look at Google Maps, the fence is at the toe of the levee, and you're talking 15 feet moving in, and that real estate is occupied by active use by Sullivan Transportation with storage of trailers.
That's not quite the way I saw it when I was looking at it. A good part of it goes a little bit out from the toe of the levee, and it doesn't. If you're looking, even keeping the fence where it is, we should be able to get that land as up to that fence, even if we don't require them to remove it or give them an easement to have the fence while they are still the ones who own that property or that company still exists. So I really am uptight about coming to the toe of the levee when you got to look at it and see that there's a tremendous amount of land that does not interfere with the fence and still should be included in it.
And I concur. I've looked at this. If you physically go down there, looking at Google Maps is one thing, but physically looking at the site, there's almost all of the toe is there. I think it is making a mountain of a molehill, whereas if you push it to the toe, you're literally losing most of the toe, that the requirement. I think we can accomplish most of what Army Corps would want us to accomplish to that fence line. There may be a small area that's not, but where their fence is, I don't see where there'd be any significant impact on their property if we went to, like Jack suggested, to that fence line. Now, what is shown on the survey that we paid for shows the fence being practically on the toe of the levee for the length, and Google Maps may or may not show that same thing. But if you're physically at the site, that's not the case. It's not to the toe. There's a sizable gap of at least 15 feet in most sections, and probably less, as Jack suggested, in a few areas. And those areas aren't substantial. Most of that area is at or close to 15 feet. So I'm
not looking at a Google map. I actually observed it by being there, and standing on the levee and looking down, and then going to the far end and looking down. And there is sufficient in many places, a few feet maybe off. But if we go to the fence, not make them remove the fence, we need that land, and that would go any impairment to them for the storage of trucks. So I don't, anyway, going to the toe of the levee itself is not necessary. If you really look at it visually, you'll see there is still a significant amount of land. And I think I know we definitely should be getting that in that purchase.
Agreed. And that's the general understanding that the commission has had about this site. But without the surveys that we had asked for, it was hard to ascertain exactly what was what. Now,
I would ask Mark to go down and take a look at it himself and get a visual look of actually what we're looking at, and not just go by Google Maps.
Yeah, that's.
And then we can come to an understanding when we actually see the property.
Right.
Or even have a meeting there.
Or even have a meeting.
Well,
there.
I don't know if we can meet there because we don't own that land. We'd be standing on somebody else's land at this point in time. I don't know. I mean, that'd be a great idea if it's allowed. We'd have to contact Sullivan, the properties that we can,
well, there is,
stand on that land.
Well, there is the part that we went to. I'm sure you went through the same area, Jack, that I did. there is an easement there for utility lines, correct, Mark? Because there are utility lines.
Oh, yeah. I looked at that. Hey, that is well taken care of. I mean, they really not only moved trees, they grubbed it. That is in fantastic shape. If our levee was even close to that, we'd be in great shape.
Right. So, do you have any information on the easement that's through there for the utility lines, Mark?
No, not to my knowledge.
Well, can Mark at least take a look so he can be on the same page?
I will review the survey that was done. Again, it's my understanding that the survey included up to the fence, and that the fence movement of a property line beyond the fence is going to be detrimental to the industry.
Well, we're not looking to be detrimental. We're not. I say as a compromise, and we could say to the Army Corps of Engineers, we had a compromise because we don't want to cause problems for the Sullivan Company, that we take the land up to the fence, and from not a Google map, because those maps are hard to read with my eyes, but I got on down there and I looked from a distance and then looked down it, and I saw that there is plenty of space there that we should include. In other words, you don't go to the toe, bottom of the toe, you go up to the fence, and therefore we don't require them to move the fence if that's what we have to do. At least that. But you got to look at it.
Right. And looking at what the survey is, the overlays that you sent to us in, I think it was the end of November, beginning of December 2021, which was one of the documents that we had asked for. And I think it was just an oversight, perhaps on your office or your part. I don't think it was intentional, but there's the overlays with the topography and the taking, and it shows the chain link fence kind of where the red line is, but not entirely. There's a substantial section that's the fence is over here, and there's a couple parts where the fence is over there. It's not all quite to the survey. Looking at what's on this the document that has those red lines with the property ownership and the lines for the eminent domain taking. So I think that needs to be reviewed before we have to
finalize anything. Yeah,
right. I don't think it
actually
needs to
you
go
sent
to the mayor.
a message to the Army Corps of Engineers saying that Mark had pointed out the fence and how it's important to the Sullivan Company, and you said that we were not going to take, our commission is not going to take any action that would hinder or cause hardship to Sullivan. But all we're asking for is the land up to the fence. And then we told them that we're not going to fight them on moving the fence or the fence being protection. We do not intend to cause any hardship. We just intend to do the best coverage that we can do with what it actually exists. And maps are nice, but I've worked with maps when I taught topographic maps in high school and earth science, and they're not 100% locked in as 100% efficient.
Right. Right, and that's true. That is what the letter to the Army Corps said, and I will read that into the record just so we have it into the record. But I think having to go to the mayor, I don't think it's necessary, Mark. We have talked about this for quite a while, and I think we should be able to handle this as professionals. Yourself as the city engineer and us as the commission. I don't think it rises to that level, but if you feel that it does, then perhaps we can meet with the mayor and kind of hash this out. But I think perhaps having a firsthand view of that area, you may see that what we're talking about and what the difference may or may not be. Because again, it's hard to gauge on these topo maps that have the property lines what is taken, but from what you expressed to us and from what is on these, it looks like it's right at the toe of the dam of the levee rather than at the fence line.
That's my thought too, from what I saw firsthand, not from a map, but from actual observations.
Well, so understand that we're looking to take, and we have appraised based on the survey. So if the survey demonstrates to the fence, that's what we're talking about. And I'll go back and confirm that's my understanding.
True.
Now,
And
to take beyond the fence, that's where we have a problem.
Right. And Mark, I expressed the question multiple times to make sure that we are taking the land that is necessary. Now, to go beyond the fence, I think we pretty much have a compromise there. I don't think to push that any further it's kind of pointless and wasted time. I think, if our concern is that it should go to the fence line. Now, if what was surveyed on that is not to the fence line, there's our concern, and that's the questions I've been asking. Are we taking what we should be able to take without causing any detriment? And that applies to the whole levee, the original construction, because it'll avoid future costs and complications that we don't need. We have enough problems with this levee as it is, and to get it to where it needs to be, I'd hate to have to come back if I'm still chair or on this commission, whenever that may be, or any other commissioner after us would have to go to the city and say, look, we need to do X, Y, Z because it wasn't done right the first time. And we're just trying to avoid unnecessary costs. If we do it all right the first time, it won't be an issue down the road, because this has been...
Well, I'm actually asking Mark to actually take a physical observation of it, to go out there and look.
Right.
And then we can compromise with it. We've already compromised in the sense that we've already notified the Army Corps of Engineers, or you did, to notify them we're not going to interfere with Sullivan's fence. But again, by observation, the tow doesn't go to the fence. There is some land. Some of it's 15 feet, some of it maybe 8. I didn't get out with a tape measure, obviously, but it is a significant amount that we do definitely need to get. So we show good faith to both Mark and to the Army Corps of Engineers. Good faith to Mark that we're not causing trouble for Sullivan Company, and good faith to the Army Corps of Engineers that we did what we could do under reasonable circumstances. I think that's all I'm going to say about this.
That's a good way to put it, Jack. Thank you.
Very good.
So, Mark, just to follow up, are you intending to take a physical look at this this section?
So I'm going to go back and review the survey and the description of what's to be taken. Okay. If I'm going to try to look in the field, I'm going to need to have the surveyor mark out then what he described if it's not evident. Again, if it's not along the fence line. So I don't think I need the surveyor to go and mark it out. I don't think you can ascertain what's described simply by looking at it. You really have to look at what the survey describes, because that's what's going to be taken. That's what's been appraised. Right.
Well, part of the question we have had, Mark, is that it isn't clear to the commission where that line lies. And we have no documentation from the surveyor that says it was surveyed to that fence line, or it was surveyed to the toe of the levee. And that was, I believe, some of the crux of what Commissioner Leary had asked for in some of his motions, was to get all of the documentation that Sherman and Frederick LLC had paid for. This commission had paid for to kind of understand this. Because I have paperwork that's for the taking. There was 4 documents that you provided to me that show the takings, the segments, but I don't see anything that clearly lays whether it says to the fence line, to the toe, and that's the questions we've been asking for a period of time now. So, and we don't want to go forward on this if this is still unclear, because if we go forward with this and then we find out it's right at the toe of the levee rather than that fence line, well, then we didn't do our part, and it's not
due diligence.
Right. It's not to what we've been asking, or to what this commission's been talking about for the last at least 6 years. It's been 6 years this commission's been talking about getting the levee brought back to some level of its original construction, and procuring the entire length and getting it at some point back to where it needs to be, to Army Corps regulation.
That's not my understanding what the commission was looking for. But again, I'll take a look at the survey, and I will look at what was described, and I'll get back to the commission.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions regarding that piece of the matter?
No.
Okay, well, the question is relative to Little River, but that's pretty much covers that piece.
Okay. Now, a secondary question kind of ties into what your response was, Mark, in the email interchange, was that you referred to the FEMA certification for the portions of the levee outside of the 550 feet. And this commission has, for quite some time, and commissioners that are no longer on the commission were also involved in this, motions were made for to pursue the full Army Corps footprint of the levee and to restore it to Army Corps regulations, so it meets spec with Army Corps, not to FEMA. And there is a significant difference between the two. So is that the part that you're unsure about? Or because you just made a reference to your understanding of what the commission wanted.
Just now?
Yes.
My reference?
Yes.
No, my reference was that my understanding was the commission was looking for the full 14, 15 foot beyond the toe of the levee through the entirety. And that's not what, again, was surveyed or proposed.
Right.
But now I'm understanding the commission is saying, no, that's not what they're asking for, that you're okay going to the fence line.
Well, no, we're compromising to that. I mean, that was not our original. That is not our perfect 100% ideal. It's that, the world is made of get the best you can do and compromise and be realistic. You pointed out the handicap to Sullivan. We don't want to cause handicap for their storage of trailers. Therefore, we said, okay, we went and observed it, not from a map, but from the actual observation, and said, there's land that goes out from the toe toward the fence. So we want that included in what we're paying $100 and something thousand for. And that doesn't move the fence. That doesn't cause a hardship. If we don't do that, we're not doing our duty, because it's supposed to be, 15 feet out. And I think we really beat this question to death, but that's what we're saying.
No. So, okay, no, and I agree with you, Jack, that, if that's what your then compromise is, I think that is a compromise, and that's in agreement, okay? Let me just verify, as I said, that that's what was surveyed and that's what's described, okay? But now Al was asking another question that referred back to that. So, Al, I'm not quite sure what you were asking then with this recent question.
Okay, so just to clarify, we're getting kind of tangled up in this, but to clarify, the commission's original motion was to survey the entire footprint of the original construction of the levee, 15 foot from the toe on either side for the entire 2,500 odd feet of the original construction, which what you just said was that what you had done was less than that, which it is what it is. It's not what the commission paid for and asked for, but
no, that's not.
But,
I don't believe that's what I said.
But we have a compromise on it. It is what it is. That was I just wanted to clarify the original point that the commission wanted. We have a compromise on that. My follow-up question to that is that in the email response in our last exchange, you had said that there was an intent to, and I want to be clear on this, so I'll read it directly from the email. Bear with me while I look it up. Okay, I'm going to summarize your email, but I'll read it verbatim from that piece. I trust this hold on. The engineering department's goal with respect to Little River Levee is to achieve a FEMA certified structure which protects the working operations of the affected businesses and property owners, obtain title to the requisite real estate for this facility, restore functional operation of the drainage culverts through the levee, establish an approved design for the entirety of the facility, rehabilitate the facility accordingly. So just to clarify, the commission, are you referring to restoring the levy to the FEMA standards or restoring the levy to the Army Corps standards? Both would meet the FEMA requirement, but the Army Corps requirement has caveats to it that, in my opinion, would be beneficial to the city versus the FEMA version.
Well, I'm not aware that FEMA has standards other than if it's an Army Corps levy, it's Army Corps standard.
Okay.
So on the Westfield,
I agree with that. I did some research on FEMA because I'm not 100% familiar with it, and I found that if the Army Corps builds a project, FEMA does not usually want to interfere in that project. And the second thing I learned is that FEMA will not fund any effort. The key word is solely related to certifying data for a levy, accreditation, or for determination of a levy structure conditions, which means they're not going to go out and spend money to go out and do like the Army Corps does and say, ooh, this is bad, you got to fix that, you got to fix this. So, Army Corps built it, Army Corps repaired it, FEMA knows that, and FEMA's not going to step all over Army Corps. And I think we've got to work with strictly Army Corps. And they are engineers. They don't do rescue of people after a flood. They specialize in engineering.
Right.
So, Jack, I'm not sure where you're going with your discussion in that if it's an Army Corps levy, we need to bring it to Army Corps standards to get FEMA to certify. But bottom line is we need a FEMA certified levy that then removes the flood zone A behind the levee from being flood zone A. FEMA needs to recognize that the levee protects, and therefore the area behind it is protected, and it no longer requires then flood insurance.
Right. I'm sorry, Jack.
Go ahead. No, Chair, go ahead.
The reason why I'm asking that question, Mark, is just for clarification as we move forward, because you could attempt to restore the levee to the FEMA standard, which is similar to what we have with the Westfield River levee. It's not to Army Corps standard.
No, because they're two different. FEMA doesn't have
correct.
standards. I was going to say
right. Well, that's
the Westfield River levee, FEMA doesn't have standards. FEMA
correct.
left it up to the city of Westfield to determine what was happening.
Correct. And that's my question. That's the crux of my question. I'm just trying to get clarification, because what the Flood Control Commission's goals are may or may not be the same as the engineering's. And I'm not trying to argue with you, Mark. I'm trying to get clarifications so we kind of get to the same page, because we need to be on the same page, or at least very close to being on the same page. We can't always agree on all the details, but the big picture is the public safety of the residents and businesses in that area. So it's just a question of clarification. So our goal is to pursue the restoration to Army Corps regs, and I'm just trying to see if yours was to that lesser or to the Army Corps regs. That's all it is. It's not a question to argue as a point of argument. I just want a clarification at this point, because there's a lot of things here with this levy, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page.
And I'm not trying to argue, Al. I'm just saying that, in order to certify an Army Corps levy with FEMA, it has to meet Army Corps requirements.
Right.
Well, FEMA would have certified that levy to begin with, nor, as I just quoted a minute ago, they will not fund any effort solely related to certifying data for levy accreditation. And I'm quite sure that the Army Corps, being engineers and having built it, repaired it, are very cognizant of it, inspect at least a 550 every year, are very knowledgeable of what's going on. I'm quite sure FEMA would not disagree. And it just makes sense to me with the Army Corps. Okay, let me ask you a question. I'm a newbie on this commission. When was the last time FEMA was out there and did an inspection like the Army Corps and wrote up a report on what is wrong with it, what is right with it, and what they should do about it? Because I know they don't spend any money, but they might send somebody out and look at it.
Jack, look, I'm understanding you guys are thinking that these are two competitive agencies, and that's not the case. Okay, my point is that if you built the levee to Army Corps standards, that's not the end. You have to take it then and get FEMA to certify it, because FEMA's the one that requires the flood insurance, not Army Corps.
Correct. I agree. I'm not agree with that either. In fact, I don't think I ever debated that point. The point being, if Army Corps certifies it as being acceptable to meet the standards, I'm quite sure FEMA would accept that. But right now, FEMA, I doubt very much if FEMA would accept what we got there now. And I don't, at this point, I don't believe FEMA has accepted it.
No, I don't believe FEMA would accept it as it is. And no, FEMA hasn't. Obviously, they show the land behind the levee as flood prone.
And so does the Army Corps of Engineers.
No,
I have a diagram.
Okay, I think we're getting a little far afield in this one, and it's unfortunately getting a little heated. It was a question just to see where we're at, Mark. There is
So
other questions
to answer your question, we are going to reconstruct an Army Corps levee to Army Corps standards. And we need to do that in order to get FEMA certification. Does that clarify?
I have no problem with what I think you just said. We have to get it to Army Corps so that FEMA will accept it. Yeah, obviously. Agreed.
Yep.
okay.
Well,
So
that means the whole original design.
Correct. All 2,500 feet or whatever it exactly was. They say about in their reports.
Well, no, that's got to be the full length.
That's what I just said, 2,500 feet.
Right. Okay.
yes. Okay. All right. So, Jack, you have other questions. You said if
Yes, I do. But are we done with this?
yes, we are done with this.
Okay, I put a motion in about 3 meetings ago relative asking Mark to look at the specifics and the surveying lines for the inlet of the culverts that is located in what used to be called an old canal. And I asked that we had sufficient land for a what they call a rubbish something. I forgot what word they use. It's the same idea as a fence that is permeable to let water in, but not the trash. Oh, that was called a rubbish trash rack. And the other thing I asked for is if somebody's going to come in there that is working as a contractor after Ty and Bond sets up the specifications, they may have to bring equipment in. You can't put the equipment on somebody else's land without doing some process. Can we get that particular piece of land? And I don't know. From what I see, we are right on the edge of where the culverts are inflow, but maybe not for the whole culvert, but at least the basic part. So I don't know if there's enough place to put equipment on, and we've got to have that because if Ty Bond says, here's what you need to do, and we say, ooh, we don't own that land, we can't do that. We got to go through another year of process. So I want to see we get that straightened out now. Into my comment.
So,
let's Mark out something.
So,
Go ahead, Mark.
so I never got your motion written down, or just what memory of what you spoke about. And again, I mean, even what you just spoke about was a bit broken. But so what I'm understanding you to say is that you're looking to have secured sufficient land to not only for the ends of the culverts to occupy, but also for constructability land to get in and out. And I thought we responded already saying that the survey, that the takings that have been proposed contain sufficient real estate for constructability issues with regards to trash rack.
I didn't know we had gone that far. I made a motion the last time I asked you said I have nothing new to add to it. So what I'm hearing you now saying is you've done action on it?
Action. I sent an email to Al answering that question, but when you're saying action on it, what are you looking for, Jack?
I'm looking for that we have, after looking at the surveying lines, sufficient property that we own to complete the putting of a trash rack. And you said, when I talked to you, you said, well, what does it look like? I said, well, that depends on tie and bond. But we'd have to have enough so the tie and bond gives us the idea of how much land we need for the trash rack. But also, you're going to be bringing equipment in. Now, I don't know how they're going to reline, but obviously, from what I've looked at a computer of other projects that are relining, they have to have equipment there. Now, you need the land for that to go on. It's the same idea as we're getting land for the dams to bring the equipment. So I'm asking sufficient land for both the trash racks and the equipment that would be needed to reline the levees on the intake part of the culverts. And any other rules that the Army Corps has, like you have to be a couple feet away. We should get that now. And from what I see, we don't have it. We're on the border. We're close, but we don't have it. On the trash rack, possible. And I don't think we have enough. I don't know what equipment Ty and Bond's got to alert us on how much they're going to bring in there. And I don't think they even determined yet what way they're going to reline it. So I'm asking for a sufficient amount. I don't want that whole canal. That would be a big headache. That's a mess. But we need enough of it so we don't have a problem when we have to get the operation actually of doing the job after Ty and Bond's completed their task. That's it.
And to follow up, Mark, what is unclear in the paperwork that you gave us with the survey maps is how far that extends, the property taking extends to the, I don't want to get the wrong direction, but heading toward the Sullivan properties there, how far it extends in that direction along Ponders Hollow and moving upstream, if you will, on the old canal bed. It's not clear how far into that it goes in the paperwork that we've received. There's red lines that exist around it, but I don't see a property line that addresses that specific area. And I think that's the question that Jack was asking, because it's not clear in any of the paperwork that you've given to me where that is.
Oh, I saw survey lines, and I'll tell you, I got a little thing. I need a magnifying glass, and it still was very difficult. It wasn't blown up to the size I'm used to seeing when I was on other commissions. So I'm saying, is there sufficient land so that we can do three things? One, we got to put in trash racks. Now, they're going to be away from the culvert, and I think the culvert's pushing the issue because I think they're right on the line. Then we got to have a place for the equipment to come in on our property so that they reline it. Now, I don't know what that is. We're going to wait for Ty and Bond. The Ty and Bond probably could alert us on how much we would need. And then last was make sure we don't break any rules with the Army Corps as far as doing it, because we got to get the approval before we do it. And that's it. That was a motion about 3 meetings ago. And you said you didn't get it. Well, it's on tape. I don't know. No, I didn't mail you it, obviously. I'm done, Mark.
What?
I'm done. I made a comment. I don't. If you're going to respond or what?
So, what I'm hearing is the commission can't read plans or the plans that were submitted.
Oh, Mark, I'm going to cut you off. Mark, I'm going to cut you off right there. That is very unfair to say to any of the commissioners. We have an understanding of how these work. I've read blueprints and drawings for quite a few years. And as Jack had said earlier, he actually taught this stuff. So to say that we don't know how to read them is not fair. And you as the city engineer...
I don't believe that's what I said, Al.
That's what you started to say. And that's why...
No, that's not...
Okay, I'm sorry. Continue with what you were saying.
So you need a scale that's different than what was provided or what is typically used so that you can see it more clearly.
No, I'm asking, let me backtrack here. I'm asking, you're the professional, you read these survey maps. I have seen maps before. My eyes are not good enough for the copies they gave me. From talking to other people, and I'll never use other people's names, it's questionable whether we even own the land that the culvert extends to on the input side. They believe it's right on the line and that part of the pipe anyway is there. But now you got to put a trash rack further out. I don't think we own that land. Now you got to bring in equipment when they do the relining, which we got to wait for to see how much, but Ty and Bob could give us an idea. We need that much land. And therefore, I'm asking you, do we have it, or what do we need to do it to get the amount that Ty and Bob's going to request? And you have good contacts with Ty and Bob. They would obviously let you get an idea of what the reality is. I'm just asking now. I don't want to wait a year from now or whatever time that Ty and Bob's done, and now we hire somebody to put the operation in. They go, oh, we got to bring equipment in. You can't put it there. We don't own that land. Now, we have the same thing we were doing the dams. You are obtaining land so they can put equipment there. And so I don't want that problem with this when we should do it now, not when the day we're going to do the project and say, oh, we don't own the land. And that's my point. I'm done. But I can't explain it any clearer.
Thank you, Jack.
Mark?
Hello. I don't know what's going on. This phone's got limited serviceability as well. So, I'm on the phone.
Okay, we can hear you, Mark.
Hello.
Yep, we're here.
Okay.
We can hear you. So
look, are you there? You're
we're
broken
here.
up here.
We're here.
I'm listening to you.
So look, I'm hearing a really confused question. You're telling me that you're looking at the plans and you see that the outlet or inlet to the pipe is borderline on property controlled by the city. And then
I'm looking at the plan and I'm asking people questions, and that's the opinion I've been given. I can't read the darn things. I've got 84-year-old eyes, and the print is very small. It wasn't blowing up. I'm asking you the question. Do we have that property for the trash racks? Do we have the property for equipment to sit there and do the relining? And are we are we meeting Army Corps as far as protecting the land next to it so they don't have trees growing in or something? And I'm asking you. I don't have that expertise. I can't even read the darn things. They're so small.
Yeah. So, Jack, I don't think so. Look, I have answered that question in the past, and I tried to answer it this evening. That you're right, in my opinion. Yeah, the inlets are borderline on our property. We need more property, and that more property is described in the takings that we're talking about.
I'm not familiar with the cases we're talking about.
I want to see a plan.
Maybe you could forward that to Al, what the property you said we were talking about, because I was not cognizant that we're taking anything.
That's what the money request was for takings of land so that you owned the footprint of the levee and the 15-foot buffer to the extent we're not damaging some of it.
Right. The question.
Okay, backtrack. Now you said something that I'm not cognizant of. I understood that was for 4 companies that owned land, but not the canal, not where we're doing the trash rack. That is included. This is news to me.
So I understand then you would like to see a plan that demonstrates that.
I would like just you to look at it and say, yes, Jack, with my engineering skills, with my degree, we have the land. We're not going to have a problem. They'll be able to put the trash racks. They'll be able to bring the equipment in. I'm just asking you to look at it from your experience as an engineer and tell me I have no problem. I'm not an engineer, and I can't read those things with my eyes because it's not blowing up. They're like itty-bitty little things, even with a magnifying glass. So would you look at it? Do you prove it? You say we got sufficient land for the trash racks, we got sufficient land to bring equipment in, and we're not going to have a problem in the future.
So again, Jack, I don't believe we have sufficient land today. But
can we get it then?
The taking that we're discussing would provide it.
Okay, so when we're doing the 120,000, I think it is, that is including that land?
Yes.
Okay, see, I was understanding that was further down, had nothing to do with the canal, but had to do with where the fence was and had to do other properties down there. So that is included in it. I didn't get that. My mistake.
Well, again,
You're not alone, Jack.
apparently we need clearer plans for the commission to visualize these.
Okay, can you do that then? That was my motion.
We'll see what we can do about clarifying the plans.
Great. That's where we want to be. Okay, I think that's another question. I have one last one. I almost hate to ask this after we've had such a debate. There is a group of trees that are around the culvert, so you would have to remove them so that you can clear out all that debris that is clogging up the culvert. Now, Casey and I went down there and marked the trees that would be needed to be removed. Now, I've communicated with the Army Corps of Engineers, and they don't seem to have any problem except for they wanted pictures and measurements, and I don't know if they responded to what we sent them. The other thing being basically is we need a NOI to the Conservation Commission. Now, it's been suggested to me that you would be able to do an NOI because it's only on removing, I think it's 7 or 8 trees. Are you able or willing to do it, or do we have to seek another resource?
That's going to be part of Ty and Bond's effort. I'm understanding that's what you started Ty and Bond doing.
If we move this, well, I didn't see, they mentioned 4 things they're doing right now that we're willing to pay for, and we approved at the last meeting. One was a bathymetric study, one was a topographic study, one was identifying by the wetland areas, and the last that I recall, and I have the exact words, but it summarizes to the idea of basically they're going to give us an idea of what the relining will look like. It didn't say anything about taking down trees. In the proposal, they mentioned taking down trees, but that was not in the 4 that we agreed to pay for, to my knowledge.
Right. So
I understand there has to be an NOI. I'm focusing on 8 trees.
Go ahead.
And Casey probably can help here and clarify because he saw the trees and marked them with me. Main point is I'm trying to get that outlet clear, and you can't get equipment in there with these trees in the way. And these only trees I'm talking about are the trees that are, I believe, and I think Casey agrees, I can't speak for Casey, that we need to remove.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
So would you write an ONI? It's limited.
Jack, hold on 1 second. Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, so we did flag the trees, and I do agree. I mean, they need to come out in order to clear the culvert. But even if we dislodge and if we cleared the debris built up in those culverts currently, they're still not going to function because the bottom and the backflow valves are rusted out. So they're not going to function even if we clear that debris. So, my recommendation is we follow with Ty and Bond's approach because it will be part of the bigger fix on this structure. Those will get cleaned out and they will get either lined or replaced. But it would be later down the line, through the survey work and the land takings that we can address this in the proper manner.
Okay, I have a concern. One of the 4 that we agreed to pay for, and we passed a motion to pay for it, and Mark said it's in process, is a bathymetric study. Bathymetric study is basically to see the land at where the culvert outlet is. It's covered with trees. How do you do a study where the tree parts go out 3, 4, 5 feet and do it in a logical manner? And I think even the Army, Ty and Bond agrees it'd be better done if those weren't there. So I would be of the opinion, and I don't have the whole board to bring it up before, that we should make that initial, not later, that we move those 8 trees. And that would be like they have 4. How much more would it cost to write the NOI that we get those trees removed? And you got to remove the roots. That's part of the Army Corps requirements.
Right. And just hold on one second, Jack. Just so because there's a little bit here, just so everybody understands. We're talking about the 7 trees that are in the ground on the levee itself, plus the log jam that is at the outfalls, the now very large tree log jam at the outfalls of the drainage pipes. So it's 2 different things, but they both need to be addressed, and that is what the NOI
and key to the bathymetric study.
Right.
How can you analyze something you can't see or move to?
Right.
So I think that's a priority. If it hasn't been done, we should contact Ty and Bond, and maybe Keith, Mark can do it, or you, Al, can do it, and see what they would charge to write the NOI to the Conservation Commission, and see what we need to remove those 8 trees. And then we go to the next step is to clear it. But you can't clear it till you get the trees out. Step A, then step B.
Right. And that piece of the levee we do own. It is city owned. So it's not a question of private ownership. And that
So my point is we got to have a priority, and I think clearing it so we can do a real bathymetric study would be appropriate, and that has to be done as soon as possible, not later. So, Mark, my question was, would you be able to write the NOI, or would you prefer we do it through Ty and Bond? That's my question.
So my response would be, I don't think that the Conservation Commission would look favorably on the NOI, Notice of Intent, or issuing one, for removal of spot removal of trees without a greater picture of what, why, what, where, how, what are we trying to do? I think
Meredith has already been there, and Meredith's the one that told me we probably would need an NOI. It's probably something she told me 2 months ago. So Meredith has seen the situation, and she said to remove the trees, you have to have like erosion control. You have to have the roots removed. It's a process. And she said you need an NOI. Now, she's cognizant of what's going on, and she's saying you need an NOI now, or when you want to move it. And I say it's now. So Meredith's not lost on it. She's been there.
Okay. And I did not say that anything about Meredith or her not being there or being there. Okay.
I didn't say you did. But I'm just making it clear that conservation is familiar with the situation. And I'm asking you, would you write the NOI, or do we need Ty and Bond to look at it and they write the NOI? That's my question.
Okay, so my answer is you need Ty and Bond.
Okay, because when we charge more money, I want to say, if somebody says to me, you're jacking up the fee, I'll say, well, I asked our city engineer, and his expertise says we should contact Ty and Bond. And I'll go with that. That's all I want to know. So I do it right. Thank you.
Okay. And just to speak to what you had said, Mark, about what the greater goal is, it is outlined in the Army Corps inspection report about removal of the trees and debris. So I think the need for it is clear. I mean, we have a federal agency saying, look, you need to do this. It's not that difficult to show them what the reasoning is behind it. I mean, Army Corps is saying do it. And if the world standard of flood control, which is the United States Army Corps of Engineers, is saying, hey, look, you need to do these things, I don't think it's hard to prove the case that we need to do these things, but I'm not an engineer. I just know that Army Corps is, again, the gold standard in the world. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is the gold standard for engineering and flood control. I don't know how else to describe it. And we're relying on...
Well, I think we can move on, because Mark already said that he would not do the NOI. He prefer us to do it through Ty and Bond.
Right.
So I think that's the whole answer to the question.
Yep, it is. I just wanted to make the point, Jack, that we're relying on Army Corps information to make these decisions. So,
well, I think Casey also agrees these trees would have to be removed, and he was putting it off to a later date. But he does agree those trees have to be removed. And I look at it, especially when I do approved for a bathymetric study, you got to be able to go to where the culvert outflow ends and be able to measure there. Now, you're not going to see that. You can't walk there. You can't really measure there because most people would not realize how much vegetation and trees are around and blocking that culvert outflow. It's unbelievable. How it ever got there, I'm in shock.
Well, I will tell you, because I'm one of the few people who's ventured down there and been down next to those culverts at river level. It's a substantial mess down there. So,
well, it's got worse. I don't think you'd go down there now.
Well,
unless you have your bathing suit on.
No, not since the Christmas storm of this past year, the Christmas 2020 storm, where I took a bunch of videos and pictures. The log jam is much more substantial now than it was before. And it's right up against.
Well, also, to point out, there would have been one more tree, but the tree broke down. We have only roots to remove. That tree got into the river, and during that heavy rainfall during the Christmas time, it went down and caused a dam buildup on one of the two tributaries of that river.
Right.
And it's primarily a tree that we would have taken down, plus another tree that I saw that fell down is now no longer there. It's down in that dam, and there's a real mess down there, and I don't know what's happening to that.
Yeah, and
the next flood maybe, or the next heavy rain might push it further down the river and let it end up going into the Westfield River. I don't know.
Yeah, what Jack's referring to is a log jam that's developed downstream from the culverts, and some of it was built with the tree that was the dead tree that had fallen, and part of it ended up getting carried away because the Westfield, or the Little River, rose about 4.5 feet from its normal height, and was quite high. So it floated it off.
By the way, there's another tree that lost its bark that's down to its cambium that it looks dead. And I think Casey even referred to it as looks kind of dead. That could fall down and go into the river and even add more of a mess for us.
Yes.
That's part of one of the trees that I'm referring to we should remove.
Right.
If we remove it, we're going to have it in the river eventually.
Right. And those were the concerns that Army Corps had addressed to us in their last inspection about removal. It was because if they fall over or they blow over, they'll take a substantial chunk of the levee with them, and then we'll have a bigger problem, especially that they reside.
Al, I think we can move on, because the question was, would Mark do it, or do he recommend us to get it through Ty and Bond? Will you make a motion or talk to Ty and Bond, Steve Soroka, and find out what the cost would be, and then bring it to the commission to get approval? Or whatever they recommend.
Jack, that is to me or to Mark?
I would say to you.
Okay.
Mark said to pass it on to Ty and Bond, and I think we should be cognizant of what Ty and Bond would be referring to, so we're going to pay for it.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll pay for it. Our budget's pretty low.
I will do that. I will contact Ty and Bond. Let me just make a note.
Mark has no objection, I think. I don't hear anything from Mark. Any objection, Mark?
I think the commission needs to direct Ty and Bond pretty directly, because you really had a lot of questions on what they submitted in the past, and you'd need to be specific to what it is you want, and they should understand that.
Right.
Okay, you said you were all with us, and with Al contacting them relative to that issue. Fantastic. Let's move on, Al.
Perfect.
We got to take a vote on the stuff, or what?
No, I can facilitate that without a motion.
Okay, I didn't make any motions today. I just asked about a motion, and I asked questions.
Right, correct. I can facilitate it as is, Jack. Okay.
I feel for you, knowing all that you're doing, and you still have a full-time job. My God, the paperwork you pump out. I hate to add another thing to your list of stuff to do. I feel guilty.
Well, taxpayers are getting their worth out of me. That's the best I can say. But I don't do it for the pay. I do it because it needs to be done. So, because nobody was doing it.
Okay, can we move on then?
Absolutely. All right.
Somebody has an objection.
No. I don't have one. Barry, do you have an objection? Nope, I guess not. Moving on. No other issues on Little River to discuss?
Not for me.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 9, annual report of the Westfield Flood Control Commission. So as I stated earlier in the meeting, and I had promised for this meeting that I would have a rough draft of the annual report, I have it mostly completed. It is, again, I've only recently gotten the computer, and it's taking a bit to update what I need to do off a flash drive. So unfortunately, newer programs don't jive with older programs, and things don't quite line up the way they used to. So I will have this in time for the special meeting that I'm going to schedule, where we discuss the Armbrook and Pottermill Brook dams and the report to the city council and mayor, or mayor and city council, on our recommendations. And that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions about the annual report?
No.
Okay. Moving on, new business, communications. So I do have some communications. I have one that is outstanding, but I actually put it off until now because the renewal is this time of year for the Mass FM, which is Mass Flood Management Association. Their dues renew in January, and we had scheduled monies to be spent on that for a 1-year membership for all the commission members, minus myself because I already have one. So I will be facilitating that to Mr. Crasati so we can get that underway. So our 1 year, we'll have a 1 year as of now because the cycle starts in January. If I could have a motion.
And that's included in the budget we passed months ago.
Correct.
For this year.
Correct. If I could have a motion to pursue that.
I so move.
Okay. Do we have a second? Barry? Is Barry there? Barry, your mic might have shut down again. Hang on 1 second. His mic might have shut off again.
Yep.
Are you calling me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're looking, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay.
You want to repeat the motion because you probably didn't hear, or did you hear it, Barry?
No, can you repeat it, please?
Do you want to repeat it back to now?
Yes. Yes, Jack, if you could repeat it, please.
No, could you do it? I didn't write it down.
Oh, I didn't write it down either. But the motion was to have me forward the.
Okay, the motion that you would pursue a tie-in bond relative to the.
No, not tie-in bond.
7 or 8.
No, this was for this was for Mass FM.
For our membership in Mass and whatever that thing is.
Yes.
As we pass in our budget.
Yes.
And I moved.
That's the motion. Do we have a second, Barry?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I will second that. Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mark, do you have anything to add that I should provide to you?
You got to go all in favor, or you got to go roll call vote.
Right. I just want to see if Mark has something to say on pursuing this.
I have no comment on what the commission's doing.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is because you said to forward it to you previously, so I'm wondering if that's still okay to forward to you to process it through the.
I don't think you have any
Purchasing
options.
Department.
Certainly.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, roll call vote. Jack Leary.
Yes.
Barry
Yes.
Plumley.
Yes.
Al Jaguar, yes. Motion carries. I will forward that to you probably sometime tomorrow, Mark. And that is allotted for in our budget to purchase the memberships for the members. Myself excluded. I am included in the budget, but I have a membership, so there's no point in the city expending monies that it doesn't need to. Okay. Other communications. I did get a communication from Fran. What was it? Fran Bui, I believe her last name is. From the FEMA Compass group that is doing the FEMA remapping of the area. And it was in a communique between Mark, Jeremy Siegel, and myself. And her response was that there would be possibly sometime in March a meeting to discuss the upcoming changes to the maps. And in that discussion, it also referred to the area where Little River Levee resides. So we may get some new data on the flood mapping for that area. And it'll encompass a much larger area than that. It actually encompasses a good section of the southern part of Westfield and much of Little River. So it should be interesting to see what the new flood maps show. All right, other communications. I have a couple possible people, a couple of gentlemen interested in possibly becoming members of this commission. I have spoken to one. I intend to speak to the other shortly, and referred one to the mayor. He had to check a few things. The other gentleman, I will speak with him probably this week and refer him to the mayor as well. And then from there, it's out of our hands. It's at the mayor's discretion, the city council, to approve or deny. So, but I just want to bring them up to speed and afford them what they should know about the commission and what it entails as they approach with questions about what it is, but they have expressed interest. And beyond that, I have no other communications. So we'll move on to item number 11, observations. Does anyone have any observations they would like to make?
Nothing more than motions or comments we've already made.
Perfect. Barry, do you have anything?
No, none.
Okay. Mark or Casey, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, not at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Not on my end.
Thank you. And I do have one, Casey, just to put it out there, and it's not unexpected, but during my travels on Little River, I did observe some beaver activity in the vicinity of fresh beaver activity in the vicinity of the Little River Levee. It's probably not a major issue because that's normal. They're going to take over the area, but just to make you aware of it, that there are beavers now in that section of Little River Levee where there had previously not been any for quite some time. And Mark Goodness did observe Armbrook and Powder Mill Brook dams and observed nothing out of the ordinary at either of them recently. He communicated that a few days ago to me. And he didn't see any fresh beaver activity. So that's good news, I guess. And beyond that, I think that covers it all. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn at 7:25 p.m. So moved.
Okay, Barry, do we have a second? Seconded by Barry Plumley. Motion made by Jack Leary. All in favor?
We have to vote. You have to vote. We can't do it by person.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, no. Jack Leary.
Yes.
Barry Plumley.
Yes.
Jagir, yes. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. And